Yeah. So I want to do this little experiment and find out. I want to find out from you. Do you know what data recovery is? And I'm going to try and answer that here, but I'm curious if you know what it is prior to watching this. Leave a comment. If you don't, leave a comment as well. And we'll see what kind of conversation starts. So that could be fun. But the reason I bring this up, it's actually something that I specialize in, and it's something that I practice, and that's precisely what it is. So what is data recovery? Many years ago, I experienced one of my clients coming in with a computer that did not work. And really, the computer was fine. It was the hard drive that died. And she expressed that it was very important that she get her photos. And she had just spent an enormous amount of time taking all of the photos from her family's collection. So this was approximately 30 years of photographs. And scanned them all in and put them into her computer. And the reason is that a lot of them were fading and getting destroyed, and not long after doing that, many of them were actually destroyed. And I'm not sure what it was, if it was fire or water or something that destroyed all of them. And now, her computer being in disrepair, she was very concerned that the entire history of her family's photographs are now gone. And in fact, they were. And it's really sad because she lost all of that history of her family. Looking back on it now, I could have done quite a bit to recover those files. And it's part of why I'm inspired to actually do this type of work is because of that experience, other experiences, some where I've had information get corrupt on a drive and I had no way to get that information back. And the importance of it could be something to the effect of your business has a bunch of your clients' information. It could be a law office, it could be a doctor's office, and if that type of data gets corrupted, sure, in those practices you could have off-site storage. You could have servers that are storing all of that data as well. But if something happens to the off-site information, what's there to protect it? Hopefully there's a backup system. And ultimately that's the point of me having this conversation with you guys, is that all of this information should be backed up. There should be some sort of fail-safe. And a lot of times there's not. And so I'm dealing with clients who have been in the situation where they were attacked by ransomware that encrypted all their data, basically rendering it useless. There's hard drives in a server that are no longer functioning. There's a laptop computer that got dropped and now the hard drive doesn't function and all of that information is gone. It could be schoolwork, it could be photographs, it could be client data. Every one of these scenarios, it's devastating. The loss of that information could put you out of business, or it could be memories lost, generations of memories, and it's unfortunate. Another topic on this is, do you know why data recovery is so expensive? And I didn't, but I found out, and I found out by going through this process repeatedly. And I think the number one reason is that it takes a lot of time, an enormous amount of time. Essentially, you're trying to recover data from a drive that is in a damaged state. So the hardware is malfunctioning. It's not going to work instantly. It's not going to do what you want it to do when you want it to do it. It's broken. So the process of data recovery is correcting those issues on the drive, on the hardware, to try to get it to a point where it will actually allow you to extract the data from it. And there are points where the data is truly destroyed. There's essentially, if you have an issue with a computer system and the information that's on it is extremely important, don't tinker with it. Just shut it down. Just shut it right down. Get it to a service company who can help, whether it's a data recovery service or a computer repair service or the IT guy at work. Just make sure, just shut it off. Just shut it down to prevent any future damage, because the more you try to run it and tinker with it, the more difficult it becomes to recover that data. Why is it so expensive? Because it takes time. It also takes specialized equipment on some of the more difficult cases, and that equipment is expensive. It takes an enormous amount of time. If that type of equipment is necessary, that type of equipment actually runs the drive super slow. It runs it extremely slow in some cases because it has a better opportunity to read the data that could be corrupted on the disk when it is set in that mode. And it could take days, it could take weeks, it could take a couple of months in some of the worst case scenarios. And then there's also where you have servers with multiple drives operating as one. That's called a RAID system, a RAID array. And in those cases, when the RAID fails, even though a RAID is designed to have failover and you can lose a drive and still operate, there are times where multiple drives go bad in a RAID scenario and the data is then compromised. And those are extremely difficult because you are then trying to work with a multitude of drives operating as one. I won't go into too much of the technical aspects on either of those situations, but if you could, since we're already talking about leaving a comment or two, take the time to ask questions. And if you're curious about what things I've described, ask a couple of questions, and I will add to it either in the comments or make another video, depending on what kind of information we get. But that hopefully answers the question, what is data recovery? And maybe also a little bit about why is it so expensive.